Hey everyone, it's April from Well Life Yoga and Health. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to move through a tripod headstand warm-up. So if you have always wanted to acquire this skill of tripod headstand and you just don't know what muscles you need to strengthen, this is a great warm-up practice for that pose. We will not spend too much time actually in the pose during the warm-up, but this will enable you to move forward, and if you repeat this practice over and over time, you will start to gain the strength in order to do so. That being said, if you would please like, subscribe, and at the end of it, if you want to share this video with a friend or a family member or someone you know who also has this goal or might be interested, please do that as well. It really helps my channel to grow, and it means a whole heck of a lot to me. That way I can share yoga with more people and the way I teach and the style that I teach. So we will begin by quieting down the mind just for a moment or so to get ourselves situated and find ourselves back in our body for our practice. Sitting either in a cross-legged position or maybe a kneeling position, however you feel comfortable. We'll go ahead and bring the hands either to the knees, palms up or down, or into the lap, you decide. Go ahead and close down the eyes. Take a big breath into the belly here. And exhale, let it go. Begin to soften the breath. Relax the arms. Relax the face. Pressing into the sit bones to lengthen your spine towards the sky. And as we allow our face to relax, maybe beginning to choose one or two words as an intention of how you want your practice to go, or how you want your mind and body to feel. And coming back to the moment, holding on to that intention. Go ahead and take a big breath into the belly, fill it up with air, and open the mouth, let it out. Begin to open the eyes, come back, welcome back. All right, so coming onto our backs, we'll go ahead and lie down on the ground, bringing the knees towards the chest. Press the arms up towards the sky, palms flat as if they're pressing into the ceiling, right? So imagine this is like a plank pose, except your legs are pulled in, and we're going to bring our knees towards our elbows. So lift and lower. We'll do 10 total. Lift, lower, keep pressing those hands. Lift, lower, lift, lower. Let's do 6 more. Lift, lower, lift, lower, lift, lower, lift, lower. 2 more, you got it. Lift, lower, last one. Lift and lower. All right, getting that core a little bit warmed up. Cross the ankles, bring your hands to the outsides of the feet, and then start to rock yourself forward and back, coming up into a seated cross-legged position. Press the hands into the ground, step back into a downward facing dog. Fix your stance. Go ahead and take a huge breath here. Inhale, and exhale, let it out. Looking forward, go ahead and walk all the way to the top of the mat. And inhale, we'll halfway lift. Exhale, we'll fold. Slight knee bend going on. All right, inhale, lift the arms up. And exhale, hands at the heart. Take a big breath here. Remember, feet all the way together, slight part to the heels. And depending on your body, it may or may not be available to you, but try if you can. All right, hands come forward to Tadasana, mountain pose. Slight squeeze to the glutes, slight tuck to the lower ribs. We'll inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale as we halfway lift. And then exhale, plant the palms, step back into a plank position. So if you're up here, that's not a plank. Go ahead and bring the hips a little lower, but we're not sinking down. So one tight body like a board. Inhale, press forward on the toes. Exhale, bend the elbows. Maybe we come all the way to the belly for our first chaturanga. Inhale, open to cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. So on the pelvis, on the legs is cobra, and legs off the ground, hands and feet only on the ground is going to be upward facing dog. Inhale to the toes. Exhale, knees bend to the belly, look forward, hop, step, or walk to the top of the mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms sweep up, root to rise. And exhale, hands come to the heart. All right, moving into our flow. Inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, as we halfway lift, flat back. So we're not up here, we're not kind of hanging out here. Hands are on the quads or the shins, or maybe even the ground if you have a lot of hamstring length going on. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step back, find your plank. Exhale, press forward on the toes, shoulders past the wrist. Elbows go straight back, maybe chaturanga, stopping 90 degrees. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take a full breath here. Inhale, right leg high, three-legged dog. And remember, a lot of times people open up, but when you're coming into downward dog, try to keep your hips square. And so just go straight up with that heel, engaging that glute. Exhale, knee to the nose, pull it up and in, plant the right foot in between the hands. At this point, you may or may not need blocks. If you're here and you can't pull your knee straight, then you definitely need blocks to bring the ground to you, and you would frame the foot here. Back foot flattens, toes mostly forward, hips are pointing straight forward. Straighten that front leg. So if you do not need blocks, it would look more like this, or maybe like this, and the back is still pretty much straight. We're not rounding and really stretching in this pose to get into the position. Keep breathing. Plant that back heel nice and flat. Pull the right hip crease slightly back. And then bending in that front knee, widen the stance. High lunge. Crescent lunge or Anjaneyasana. Keep breathing here. And then hands come to the heart. Bring that back leg forward, up and in. Pulling the knee towards the chest. Activate that lifted foot. So flexing the toes. This is pointing, this is flexing. All right, working on some active leg extensions. Make sure you find a focal point and start to extend the leg for 1, lower back down. Extend the leg for 2, go down, 3, down, 4, squeeze that right glute, down, and 5, down. All right, now stepping that back foot all the way back, nice and wide, nice and slow. Plant it parallel. Front foot pivots parallel as well. And then start to bring the toes in a little bit. So if you're kind of like this and you're not that wide, widen your stance as much as your body allows you to. Hands at the hips. Go ahead and send the hips back as the chest leans forward, just hinging at the hip. Hands come down to the ground. If you're having trouble here, coming all the way down to the ground, then tripod headstand may be a struggle for you, so don't worry about it yet, but continue working on this movement. Hands will start to come back so that the wrists are actually in line with the back of the heels. Make sure they're shoulder width apart, nice and wide, nice foundation. Bring the top of the head to gently rest on the ground and breathe here. So again, we might just be working on this position right now. Take 2 more breaths. Take a nice stretch in the back of the hamstrings. 1 more. And then go ahead and walk the hands forward. Halfway lift. Slight bend to the knees as we bring the hands back to the hips and rise all the way up. Maybe fix your hair if the ground messed it up. All right, so now we're gonna pivot towards the back of our mat. So go ahead and turn the left toes towards the back of the mat. And then the back toes, which are now officially at the front of your mat, go ahead and turn them towards that back foot so the foot is nice and flat. If you notice, I almost fell because I'm on a tightrope. So widen that left foot out a little bit so we're a little more hip width apart. If you have your hands on your hips, you'll notice if you're in line and square, because if you have your hands on your hips and it's off to the side, then you need to pivot on that back foot a little bit more for the hips to come forward. Finding that forward fold, hinging at the hip for the pyramid pose. Again, if you need the blocks, please use them. Be careful how you grab them. You might have to come out of the pose first. And really thinking about pulling back that left hip crease to square those hips. Just like I was talking about when you're in the standing position. And this is really working on lengthening the back of the hamstrings, but also hinging at the hip and opening the back of the hip so you can work into that headstand pose. 1 more breath. Hold the belly up and in. And then go ahead and bend in the front knee, back foot. We're gonna come onto the ball of the foot. High lunge. Deepening that bend in that front knee. So maybe you need to widen that back foot so it's nice and long. If you're like this is warrior 1. So you really want to come onto the ball of the foot and sink into this position. Take 1 more breath. And then hands come to the heart. Go ahead and bring that back foot up and in, so a little bend and buoyancy to come up. Knee towards the chest. Remember, flexing the foot. This is pointing, this is flexing. And then start to extend that leg long. For 1, and lower. 2, and lower. Keep pressing into that standing leg. 3, and lower. 4, and lower. Last one. 5, and lower. We're gonna step it back nice and slow. All the way, wide. Pivot both feet parallel to the tops and back of the mat. Toes slightly in to find your balance. And now we're going to actually work into the headstand pose momentarily. So Remember, wide legs. And then begin to fold forward. I'm actually gonna walk it forward a tiny bit. And then walk those hands back, back, back to be in line with those heels. Remember, only shoulder width apart, wide fingers. Top of the head to the ground. Make sure it's the flat part of the top of your head. And then in order to get into the pose here, if you want, you can come out of the pose momentarily to look. We'll go ahead and bend the knees, press into the hands, and really feel that engagement in the tricep. So head's on the ground, press into the hands, lift one knee, come onto the tricep, lift the other knee, come onto the tricep. So we're in a little ball here, right? Pointing the toes, pulling them towards the glutes, and pressing into those hands so we're not sinking into the shoulders. Again, if you have any neck issues, you definitely should not be here. Maybe just bringing your head to the ground, and that's the most. Otherwise, we begin to press up, all the way up, nice and slow, unraveling. And if you need to be against a wall, go ahead and be against a wall. Lift the legs all the way up, finding a balance between your head and the hands. Take one more breath. Straight legs, engage the glutes. Come all the way down, nice and slow, tucking into a ball. Maybe coming back to the arms, and then extend the legs back long. Forward fold. I like to come onto my elbows here. Take a breath. Shake the head, yes. Shake the head, no. All right, go ahead and place the palms down. We're going to heel toe the feet all the way to center. Good job, guys. My hair is probably pretty messed up from the floor, as maybe yours is too. Go ahead and bend the knees, come down into a little ball. And then turning back towards the top of your mat. Knees all the way together. Hips back towards the heels. Forehead to the ground. Arms go back towards the feet, relaxing those arms. Take a few big intentional breaths here. Maybe even reaching for the inside of the ankles. Getting a nice little internal rotation of the shoulder. And then bringing the hands back to the outsides of the feet, and then hooking onto the bottom of the heel. Start to roll the head forward, finding rabbit pose. If it doesn't work for you to hold onto your heels, that's fine. You can release, and you'll roll a little bit more. So this really is kind of like a chin to chest kind of idea. Take a couple more breaths. And then go ahead and roll back into that child's pose. Palms plant. Rise all the way up. And as an added little bonus, maybe planting the palms down shoulder width, fingers nice and wide, high-fiving your mat. Bring the feet up. And then lifting the heels, knees towards the armpits. Squeeze those elbows in so they'll point back. Look forward. And maybe coming into a little crow practice. Really gripping the mat with those fingertips, like little suction cups. Pull the feet up and in, round that upper spine, hold the belly in. One more breath. And then lower down. Come all the way down to the bum. Scooching forward to come onto our back. And knees towards the chest, hug it up and in. Maybe a little rock forward and back. This is also called Appanasana, which is like a reverse child's pose, essentially. And that is called Balasana, child's pose. Take one more breath and then we'll move into a short Shavasana. Coming to stillness. And then squeezing the knees towards the chest a little more, bringing the knees towards the nose. Maybe get them as close as you can, maybe touch if your body allows you. And then lower down, feet flat, and extend one leg to each corner of the mat. Snuggle the scapulas into the ground and palms come up outside the hips. Keep breathing into the belly. Open the mouth, let it out. Recalling your intention that you set at the beginning of your practice. And really focusing on that. Setting your reality, creating your reality through your mind, through your thoughts. We'll only be here for about a minute or so more. And if you'd like to, you can either practice more after, or you can continue your Shavasana for longer if you'd like to pause the video. All right, wherever you are, begin to soften the breath. Finding yourself back in your body and back in the room. Unless you're outside, just back in your body and in the present moment. Call your intention one more time. And then finding movement in the fingers and the toes, waking up even more, maybe a long stretch, reaching the arms above, legs go long, and exhale, let it out. All right, bend the knees, feet plant, and then we'll roll over to our side, coming into our fetal pose, arm under the head as a pillow. Take one more breath. And then top arm, the palm plants, coming all the way back up into your seated position. Fix your hair, fix your clothes. All right. Thank you all so very much for joining me. I really hope this practice is very helpful for you. And like I said, if you practice it consistently, you should start to move towards tripod headstand. And if you ever want like a longer flow, let me know. I am more than happy to film that as well, including some tripod headstand and maybe even a little tutorial about how you can do it against a wall as a separate video. Let me know if that's something that sounds really interesting to you below in the comments. If you really liked this video and there were certain parts of it that really resonated with you, I'd love to hear about that as well. And then any other ideas for future videos. let me know what you want to work on. All right, so again, if you can like, subscribe, and definitely share this if you really enjoyed it, that will go a very long way for me, and I really appreciate you and you being part of this community, and I'd love to hear from you. All right, so let's go ahead and close out. Hands come to the heart. Thank you all so very much for sharing your practice with me, letting me guide you on this journey today, and for watching my channel most of all. Namaste. All right, everyone, I'll see you later. Peace out.